Got it?
Recording.
Okay. I'm Emily Murphy, and this is January 4th, 2010, and this is the phone ringing. That's fine.
Hello? Yeah. I have some cards to make cards, yeah. Yeah. Is
Recording.
that gonna record what I say?
Yeah, we can turn it off if you want.
Okay.
I was gonna say, one of the, sort of a funny story, when I first went out to meet my husband, and we're walking through the town, knocking on every door, and this is a little small town right in the middle of the Mojave Desert, and it was hot. We knock on the door and ask if they have a room to rent. No, we don't. Everybody had been there before me, so they got all the rooms. So we finally got to the end of the town where it was just sort of a house here and then a house there. And we were walking down the road, and we came to another, it wasn't really a house. And what it turned out to be, the phone hasn't rung all day. Hello? Yeah, okay, Barbara, yeah. I'm all right. What's up? Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh. Okay. Yeah, but you know what? I'm being interviewed by a young lady from the school. I think I had told you she had interviewed me. Yeah. Yeah, she just came in about 10 minutes ago, and we're having. Oh. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's okay with you. Oh, that's great. Okay, that would be much better. Yeah. Okay. I'll let you know. Okay. All right. Okay, go. Bye. My daughter, one of my daughters. I have 3 daughters. She was going to come over here and bring something to me. She said she'll come tomorrow.
Okay.
Said, oh, that's great. She said, I won't bother you. Go ahead. You can tell me all about it later. Anyway, where was I? Oh, we were in the process of trying to find a room for me to stay. Now, my husband was going to stay on the base there. It was an Air Force base. So he had a place to stay, but I had to have some place to stay. And we're knocking on doors, and so far, nobody had another room. I guess we got there about a day late, because it's like every 3 weeks, a group would leave, and a new group would come, and all the wives needed rooms. So we did find a place, and we got a room there for me to stay in. Well, of course, he stayed with me, because he didn't have to report to the base until a few days after that. So we stayed in this place, and the next day, when we got up and we went out and went to have breakfast somewhere, he met a couple of men that he knew, young men that he knew that were also there. So we told them where we had stayed in this one house, and they told us that place was off limits. You're not supposed to stay there. So it was off limits, but we didn't know it. Nothing happened anyway, and so that was it. But then we had to I still had to find a place, so we kept on knocking on more doors, and we got to another spot, and the person that we got to this one place, and the person said, "Oh yes, just go down this way, and there'll be some place for you there." So we walked some more, and we went into this place, and it was like a tent. Yeah, and my husband said, "Well, don't you have a room?" He said, "Well, yeah, this is the room." And I started to cry.
You didn't think you were signing up for the Army, right?
So I guess the poor guy, he didn't know what to do.
Right.
But I said, "Oh, I can't stay here." It was like, it was just horrible. And they had this old bedstead with a mattress folded over on top of it. And that was it. It was a tent. I said, "No." And I just was beside myself. And my poor husband, he didn't know what to do with it. So anyway.
Did they ever tell you why the first place was off limits?
No.
They just said you couldn't stay there?
Yeah.
Too nice.
They had all these rules. They had
Right.
certain areas that were off limits for the men because they were in the service,
Right.
I don't know why.
Okay.
Anyway,
Just in case the camera didn't catch it, this is Helen Anello. It's January 4th, 2010, and let's talk about the beginning of the war for you. You said you were working as a nurse, right? A nurse?
no, not a nurse.
Not a nurse?
I was working in a hospital, but I was doing clerical work,
Oh, okay.
not nurse.
And then you decided to take a class on drafting and go that route. What made you want to do that? Was there any reason behind your decision?
Because I felt that it was going to be something related to the war effort, and that when I finished taking that course, they were going to give me a job that was going to be something that was going to be helping the war effort. So that's why I did that. And a lot of other young ladies did it too, because the boys were all being drafted or going into the service, and they needed women to take over and help. So that's why. And then so that happened, and after I got through with the course, which I don't know how long it was, maybe 3 months, and then I was a draftswoman. So I started to, they gave me a job. I was working for a this company made airplane parts, and I wonder if I have any of those things. I think I have. Can you open that bottom drawer? See that roll of something?
Yep. For the paper here.
Yeah, this might be what I'm looking for. Oh, no, this is not. These are the blueprints of the house that my husband built, and I drew, and this is not it.
You got another little tiny
Let's
roll.
see
Is
what
this?
that is.
Is this what you're looking for?
I don't think so. This is all my work, but it's not. uh,
What is it that we're looking for?
Pardon?
What is it that we're looking for?
I was looking for some blueprints like these
Mm-hmm.
of the airplane parts that I was working on.
So you actually worked, like, in the process of building airplanes?
Yeah,
Wow.
parts of the airplane.
Uh-huh.
Was that out in California as well?
That was in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
So after you went out to California with your husband, did you go back to New Jersey after he left?
Yeah. I was with him for about a year. We were in California for 3 months. You put that down there. I don't know what else I've got there. Just put it in there.
So what did the drafting class entail? Like, what kind of things did they want you to learn?
Well, it was learning how to draw, draw things like that. It was parts of the airplane that we had to draw. And it's so hard to explain when you don't have a picture to show you.
So your brother and your husband were both drafted into the Army, right?
My husband was drafted. My brother enrolled in the Navy.
Oh yeah, that was his choice.
Yeah. And he never was sent overseas. He was stationed in couple of places right in the United States. And then he was stationed in, I think, Nova Scotia for a while. And then the war was over. So then he was let to go home.
So there was two important men that were in your life that were gone, but your father was still there, right?
My father was
Okay. So was your family affected in a big way, or like you said, you were a happy family? Did that stay like that?
Well, I was away from home while I was staying with my husband. Wherever he was, I could go and stay with him. And that went on for about a year and a half. Then when he went overseas, of course I had to come back home.
Right.
And it was good because we had a big family and it kept me busy. And I was happy, but I wasn't happy, you know. And it was always watch every day, going to get the paper every night. I used to walk to the store to buy the newspaper to see what it would say about the war, what was happening. And it was a worrisome time, very, very upsetting time. But everybody was in the same boat. Every family had people that were in the service. And we were fortunate that nothing happened to my husband or my brother. And then when the war was over, we picked up and did what we had to do. So.
Did any of your sisters have any boyfriends? Did any of your sisters or have any husbands or boyfriends that were in the war, or was it just you?
No, I was the youngest in the family. And my sisters were all married, and their husbands were not affected. They were older.
Did any of them become involved in the war effort like you did?
Well, I don't recall. See, they were all much older than me. It's hard to remember.
You said you were only married to your husband for 2 months before you left, and you did you say a year with him before he was sent overseas, or?
Yeah, it was about a year. Oh, then he went off, and I didn't see him for a year.
Was that hard?
That was very hard, yeah.
What kind of contact were you able to have with him?
Just
Just
letters.
How often did you get a letter from him?
I tried to write to him every day, and he wrote to me pretty much every day too. So I have all those letters.
We'll definitely look at those later.
Yeah.
He was stationed in Guam, right?
Yeah.
Was that any place you knew anything about? Were you
No.
able to picture him there at all?
Not even heard of it. In fact, I know it's familiar to me now, but not because I've seen it. But you know, one interesting thing is, one of my daughters traveled a lot after she got out of college. And at one time she actually was in Guam. So she brought back some stones, from pebbles from there. She said, "Mom, these are from Guam."
Did she go there because that's where he was, or did she just happen to be there?
She knew that he had been there, and she was there. She just happened to go there.
Right.
This was long after the war was over, you know, because Yeah. The one that just called me up was her. And, yeah.
He was a bombardier, right?
Yeah, my husband was a
Right.
pilot. He went in with the idea of being a pilot. He wanted to fly the planes. But they were very, very strict about everything. The least thing they called it washing out. He would be washed out. So he had to step down to the next level. So that was, then he became eligible to be a bombardier. But it was still in other words, every plane had a crew. And in the crew there was a pilot, co-pilot, engineers, bombardiers, so he was a bombardier.
So at the time, did you know anything about what his job was or what he was going to be doing? Or
No, except that I knew that he was the man that dropped the bombs.
did that scare you?
I did. I said, how could you drop bombs and you knew they were going to kill so many people? He said, well, you couldn't think about that when you just had to do it. That was what you were supposed to do. And so that's what he did.
Were you a very patriotic family growing up? Because from what you say, it feels like you wanted to help the war, and like you said in your initial survey that you felt like all the decisions made had to be made. So did you feel like as an American it was kind of your duty?
Oh, yes. We were all, everyone I knew was affected and wanted to do whatever they could to help the war effort, because our men were there, our husbands and our boyfriends, and yeah, we wanted them to win, and we wanted to do whatever we could to help.
It's a lot different from today.
Pardon?
And that's a lot different from today.
Oh, yeah.
You could see back then everyone wanted to help, no matter
Yeah.
what they could do.
Right.
Did you want to ask something?
Oh, I was just gonna say. So you kind of felt. You mentioned that you were saying that how could you drop these bombs on people?
Yeah.
Did you feel like the war was justified though? I mean, after.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when we heard, I can remember the day it was a Sunday afternoon, and the news came over the radio that the Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor. Well, none of us had heard of Pearl Harbor. We didn't even know where that was. But it was where our men were, and so everybody was just very upset.
I can imagine.
And then we knew that we were going to be in a war, and that was horrible.
How did you find out about the bombing in Pearl Harbor?
The bomb Pearl Harbor
Yeah, how did you hear the news about that?
on the radio.
On the radio?
Yeah.
Were you with you were your boyfriend, right?
I happened to be at my husband's, his family home, which was in the same town that I was living in. And we weren't married yet, because that was 1941. And we were married, I was married in 1942. So 41, right close to Christmas time, is when we heard that the Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor. I think I have my dates right.
Yep.
It was December 7th. So
Yeah, 41.
Yeah. And that was around Christmas time. And then from Christmas until August of 42, my husband was still here, you know, with me at home. And that's when we were married in August of 42. We knew that this war had started, but we decided to get married anyway. So we got married in August of 42, and then by October of 42, my husband was drafted into the Army.
How did your parents feel about that? Getting married and being with the Army man and everything, moving around with him?
Well, they supported me. They knew him, they liked him, and they knew that we loved each other, and they were fine.
So they supported you while he was gone?
Yeah.
That's good. Where you were at the time, what was the homecoming like when all the soldiers came home and your brother and your husband came home?
Well, they all came home at different times. And actually, when the war ended in August 1945, I think. And immediately I thought, oh, my husband's going to be home right away. Didn't work out that way. They had a system where the soldier had to have so many points to get out. And he lacked a few points because when he first got there, he got sick. He had some stupid thing. So he was sick, and he missed out on some of the missions that he was supposed to go on. So this was, now the war was over, 1945, August of 45. And that was in August, and I kept waiting for him to write and tell me he's coming home, and he kept writing and saying, well, I don't know when I'll be home. They're just moving us from one place to another, and they don't tell them anything. So he wrote to me and he said, go to your doctor and tell the doctor that you're very upset because I'm not coming home. Well, I did that. I went to the doctor that I had, and in the meantime, when he left and I came home to stay, and I had to live with my mother and the family, I found out that I was pregnant. So I had a baby that was born while he was overseas. She was born in October of 45. Yeah. And then, so I was waiting for him to come home, and it was getting on and on. So he said, go to see your doctor and tell him that you're very upset, and that you're waiting for me to come home, and you don't know when I'm coming. So I went to the doctors, and I told him the story. So he must have given the word to somebody that had something to do with
some kind of power and
some power.
Yeah.
So, bingo. 2 days later, my husband was home.
Wow.
Yeah. But no, it was, he got home in January 12th of 1946, so that was, a few months, but in the meantime, I had been waiting and wondering when he's coming. So that's when he came home, and he didn't even have time to write to me, because when he got word, he had to leave immediately, and he left immediately, and the next thing I knew, he was ringing the doorbell and coming in.
So were there people like coming home, like friends and friends of the family that kept coming home? Did that make you like want to see him even more, or did you not know really anyone?
Yeah, no, I can't remember particularly who came home before him, but I know that's how it worked with me.
So when he came home, that was the first time he met your child?
Yeah, that's the first time he met his daughter.
His daughter? Yeah.
She was 3 months old
Wow.
when he got back home.
That must have been exciting. So your brother made it backstage too?
He did too. See, he had been living in Ohio.
Oh.
After he got out of college, there were no jobs at that time. There were no jobs. And he had studied some type of engineering. And he got a job in Cleveland, Ohio. So he left the home and he went out there when he got this job. And then when he was in the Navy, he joined the Navy. He never went overseas. But he was stationed in this country. So of course he was in Ohio.
Has the war, or if it has, how permanently affected you, like emotionally, or your family in any way?
It affected me emotionally at the time, but it didn't stay with me. As soon as he was home and we started to live our own life, I was fine. Yeah, he was.
So he really had nothing, like,
He
emotionally?
was not hurt in the war. He had some close calls. He used to have to fly. He was stationed on Guam, and he had to fly from Guam to Japan and back. So that was like a 12-hour flight.
So he must have had a lot of stories when he got back? Or did you not want to hear
Tell
them?
too many stories.
Right.
His plane was, one of the trips, his plane was shot and damaged, so it couldn't fly. They had to land. And you know, there was this island, Iwo Jima, have you heard of that? The United States took that island specifically to have a spot for the American soldiers, you know, who were in trouble could land there. And that's what happened. He landed on that island with his troop. The plane that he was a crew member of. They had to land there, and they would repair the plane, and then they could go on back to Guam. So that happened to him once. And that was probably a real close call. He could have been into the deep.
With your husband being in the Pacific Theater, how did you feel about the use of the atomic bombs, to end the war? I mean, it ended the war faster, but how was the feeling?
My feeling at the time, I don't think it affected me that much. I mean, when I think now about it, I wonder, why can't we just end these wars? Why do they keep continuing to, I'm not for it at all.
Like you said in your initial survey, when you thought Truman's decision, you thought it had to be made. It was something you couldn't avoid. So, like you said before, you just You supported the war
We
at the time.
supported the war effort there. We were in it all the way, but I don't support it now. I wouldn't, if they wanted to. I don't think that we should have wars. I think they should know enough about it now that they would not be drawn into it anymore. But that's only how I feel.
That's understandable. I noticed, again, in the initial survey that there was a question about if you had any fond memories of the time, and you left it blank. The question about
Anybody?
fond memories, like happy memories, and you left it blank. I was wondering if you did that on purpose, if there wasn't any fond memories, or if you had any that you want to share.
I don't know whether I can say I was happy at that time or not. I wasn't happy because I was only involved in writing to him, waiting for his letters to come back. And of course, I had friends who had husbands away too, and we were all in the same boat. But we did live our lives. You know, we had good times. We went out together, girls, you know, women. And I know one thing that bothered me a lot when I was working in where I was doing drafting. Men kept teasing me, and they teased, you know, oh, your husband is probably going out with other girls and this and that, you know.
Like you had time for it.
And I didn't have any patience with that. I said, no, he doesn't. Look. Yeah, I believed in him that he was faithful to me.
Did you ever say anything about that in your letters? Question him?
No, I never questioned him. I
That's
just
good.
knew that he was.
Trusted him.
Yeah.
It must have made it easier for you, having him be that far away and trusting him.
He was not. He wrote letters, but he was not the type that would be gushy or, you know.
Right.
He just wrote, and he'd say, I miss you, and I'll be happy when this war is over, and I'm home again, stuff like that.
Was he upset when he was first drafted, or did he feel it was necessary like you did?
No, he wasn't upset because he knew that
It had to be done.
this was happening, everybody was getting drafted. And a lot of men were joining up on their own, but,
Right.
you know,
Would he have done that if he wasn't drafted, do you think?
I don't know. I don't think he would have done it too soon, maybe. Maybe. I don't know.
If you could tell my generation, today's youth, one thing about what you lived through and the importance of history, what would you tell them?
The importance of what?
History.
History. Well, looking back on it now, it was a wonderful learning experience. I knew of several very close friends who never came back. But for me, I don't know. It was a very unhappy time, but once it was over, it was okay.
Would you encourage kids my age that are going to be graduating high school to join the military or the armed forces and support their country like your husband did, or do you think in today's environment that it wouldn't be a good idea?
No. I wouldn't encourage anybody, but if something happens and they throw us into another war, I think we should fight it. I don't think we should agree to go.
Do you think that's because of what you went through? Do you think if it
Because
was
of what
different?
all of us went through
Right.
then. And so what did it do for us?
Do you ever
Well-
wish that you could have grown up in a different time period, or that you didn't live through it, or are you happy you did?
No, I'm satisfied with it. I had the best of a lot of things, and the only thing that was hard was going through that process of being in a war and being separated from my husband for a couple of years, you know, because he was in for about 4 years, and I didn't see him for a good 3 of them once he went in. Do you want to switch that lamp on there?
Okay.
Getting dark. Yeah, that's better.
Are there any other stories you want to tell us, or anything? Be happy to hear any stories you want to tell.
Well, I could tell you a little about our living arrangements with the girls. The first girl that I became friendly with, I can't even think of her name now, but she was from Chicago, and her husband was in well, anyway, we found 2 rooms in the house that we lived in, and so both of us got jobs in the PX, they call it Post Exchange, and we worked there. Because our husbands, as I said, during the week they were on the base.
Right.
They had to do what they had to do.
Then you could see them on the
And
weekend.
we were on our own. So we got these jobs in the, as they called it, the PX.
What was that? What did you have to do with that?
Pardon?
What did you have to do with that?
You know, I can't remember what my duties were,
Obviously not too fun.
but I went to work every day there. And
Did you still stay in touch with the woman that you lived with after you left?
yeah, for a while, for quite a few years. And her name was Dorothy. Dorothy. Yeah.
Did her husband make it back okay? Was he safe?
Yeah, he came home. But they lived in Chicago, so I never saw her anymore after
Right.
that.
When's the last time you talked to her?
Oh. I don't remember. We kept in touch for a while, and then there was another woman, girl, at the time she was a girl, that we were friends, and her husband, oh, this was a sad part. Her husband got a Dear John letter. Did you ever hear about that? In other words, he left, he was away, and she met somebody else. And she wrote and told him that she was not interested in him anymore, or whatever. So that was kind of sad, and when I heard about that, I felt bad.
That is sad.
And that happened quite a bit.
Really? Were you ever afraid you were going to get one of those letters from your husband?
What?
I said, were you ever afraid you were going to get one of those letters from your husband?
No. I didn't let myself think that way.
That's good.
And I didn't have to because, well, then, but my husband was a little bit jealous, and I would never tell him that I wanted to go out with anybody or anything, and I didn't even want to go out with anybody else. Yeah. If I did, I think he would have, I don't know what he would have done.
Any other stories?
He was not, he wouldn't have agreed. Yeah. Well, it was a hard time, but we got through it okay. And is there any other questions, Ron?
I think I'm good with the interview, unless you want to show me any of the letters or anything.
What? I didn't.
I said unless you want to show me any of the letters, or if you
Oh,
don't, that's
letters.
fine. Or any pictures you have.
Oh, yeah. Wait, I have those letters. Wait a minute.
Okay. Thank you. I can help you get them if they're somewhere.
Well, it's easier for me. I know just where they
Okay.
are. Just take me a minute to
That's
get
fine.
there. I have to go in the bedroom. This is my trusty little
It's only 45 minutes.
Am I transcribing it? Am I gonna like cut all this out?
Yeah.
And then like crunch it on the phone?
Don't do that.
Oh, well, I'm not gonna put a phone conversation, but like should I put like phone rings?
How did I screw up though?
I never really got like a formal like introduction either. I'm gonna have to put this on my computer and cut all this out. This is gonna make an audio CD of us talking. This is gonna make an audio CD of us and put it on my iPod, but
Right.
really us talking in the video. That was not too dark in the beginning. I didn't realize it was like
It'll be fine.
okay. How many get some things?
That was really nice.
That's cool.
Nice resume.
Okay, I'm not very good job here.
She works at like the cafeteria or something.
I want to do like activities.
Huh?
I said I want to do like activities.
Not really sure though. Doctor like once every 6 months.
That's the lady at the front desk. I wouldn't even mind volunteering. look good on the resumes. Give some of these. Favorite color.
Can't believe Rose also was going to be.
You said you would. You said, is that what you think is coming out there? I said, yeah.
Really are.
I wonder if she says. She says on the picture. I wonder if she's there.
She's not on my mood.
What? He told me. I won't read them if you don't want me to, but I just kind of want to see
I
them
don't,
now.
you can read anything you want, but,
Okay.
you know, this is interesting, because this is a graduation something. Yeah, um, this is from him to me, these, you can look at. They're mostly very short letters, and now I gotta see where are the ones from me to him.
So is this the program of his graduation as a bombardier
Yeah,
in California?
from California, in California. Yeah. Yeah, these are letters from him to me. Now I'm trying to see where my letters to him. Oh yeah, these are. Yeah, this is from me to him.
was your husband's name?
Pardon?
What was your husband's name?
Sam.
I thought he signed it Sammy, but I wasn't sure.
Oh dear, this is from me to him.
Did they give him these envelopes and stamps and stuff? I see the planes on them.
Oh,
Did they give those to him?
I don't know.
Seemed like he was all over. This one was San Francisco and this one's Nebraska.
Oh,
They had him going all over, huh?
Yeah, something.
yeah, well, yeah, we were in Nebraska.
This one was your birthday, Sean, July 9th, 1945.
There you go.
That's flashing, I don't know why. Must be maybe the end of the tape. Could we have used it all already?
I don't think so. Hey,
Does it say anything?
looks like it says tape.